Yo, what up, guys? Today I want to talk about the Trial of Sekhemas Hexblast character that I recently put a video out. You guys can see playing before you, I have this absolutely fantastic Hexblast character that I've been playing. I've been using it to do the trials runs, and it has been an absolute blast, and you guys have been asking me a ton of questions about it. So today I figured I'd put out a video, talk about where the idea came from, we'll go over the skills, why we're playing Witch and not Monk. We'll talk about the gear and the overall passive tree, and then we'll test it out in some content and just kind of show you guys how it performs outside of the trials so you can get an idea of what's going on. First and foremost, this character was designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that was to run the trials very efficiently, very quick, very fast. My monk can indeed do it. My monk can do it very, very, very well, but this character does it better. It does it a lot better. It worries about less afflictions. It has, just insane damage. It moves a lot faster. It casts a lot faster, and it does everything that the monk does, just slightly better for this type of content. So I wanted a character specifically for that, and then I wanted a character specifically for mapping. So that's why we made the two characters. Now, the build in itself actually was inspired by and created by a gentleman on Reddit a couple days ago named Difficult Named 8070. He posted about an Hexblast Mage Sekhemas Runner, and I read this thread and I was completely hooked. In Path of Exile 1, I ran a ton of Hexblast, like an absolute ton of Hexblast. I absolutely love Hexblast. I've made videos about Hexblast. I've wrote video guides about Hexblast. I love Hexblast. It is one of my all-time favorite skills. And when I saw this and I saw it was doing Sekhamas or Sanctum, I was completely hooked. I read this thread, I checked out his POB or his Mobalytics planner, and I started putting it together. I started talking about it on stream, I started leveling it, and a bunch of you guys figured out exactly what I was talking about and started building it alongside with me. My friend Sir Napsalot's playing it, my buddy Taylor's playing it, and a few other guys have started, they have found this thread and they started putting it together, and they're all having an absolute blast playing it. So I'm very appreciative for this gentleman for sharing it on Reddit. I will include this Reddit thread down below for you guys so you can see it as well, including his witch guide that he put together on Mobalytics alongside my Mobalytics. Now, this character, if you've never seen Hexblast before or you don't know what Hexblast is, Hexblast essentially is a skill that does damage in two phases. Well, first and foremost, it detonates a curse on an enemy, dealing a ton of damage. And if there's no curse on the enemy, it does less damage. So we actually combine it with the ability to curse enemies without having to curse them, and we can deal a ton of damage. So you can see we auto curse enemies without pressing any buttons, and we cast the skill and it just kills all the enemies. Now we're in the campaign, it's gonna do a lot of damage in the campaign. I know it's gonna do a lot of damage in the campaign, but I just wanted to show you the basic premise. The Hexblast requires you to curse an enemy. You rip the curse off, it deals an absolute ton of damage. And that's just the basic concept of what we're playing and what we're getting ourselves into, because I think you need to know as a player what you are, what you're pretty much just getting into before you go down this rabbit hole. This skill is not for everybody. Some people don't like this playstyle. Some people really like this playstyle. And it becomes this very interesting hit or miss on, do I like it? Do I not like it? Hexblast will deal a ton of damage if the mob is cursed. It will deal a lot less damage if the mob is not cursed. So that's what we're doing. Now, we chose Blood Witch specifically, and he makes a good point in the Reddit thread, because of the base crit. We are playing Blood Witch so that we can do a metric ton of damage. Our base crit goes to 15%, giving us a beautiful all-around crit chance of 87% before we even finish the character, because my character's not finished, and Blood Witch was an insane pick. But we'll talk about the Ascendancy in a second and go deeper into it and why we're doing Blood Witch and all the benefits of Blood Witch. First, let's talk about the skills. We saw what Hexblast does. We know why we're combining it with Blood Witch to make it do a lot of damage, but how is it all coming together and how is it all working? Well, Hexblast deals a bunch of chaos damage, and then when you quality it, it deals even more damage. It detonates a curse on an enemy within 2.8 meters. That curse explodes, dealing a metric ton of damage, and we get beautiful, beautiful damage all around. You see right now our Hexblast is level 19 with +8 from global modifiers. It's dealing a whopping 435,000 damage. And if I swap to a bossing setup, it deals even more damage. We get up to 683,000 and we are nowhere near the cream of the crop of where we can be. We can actually get almost double our damage from this point with a little bit more levels and a little bit more investment. And I just need to take the time to be able to level my character some more and really push it over the edge. Now, Hexblast, we are pairing with Arcane Tempo so we get more cast speed. You see right away, we have insane cast speed. Unfortunately, it is tied to our life, and we'll talk about that, but we have really, really good cast speed. Hexblast, as you see, is that purple circle that's on the floor, and we have a nice amount of AoE for bosses, and when we're doing regular maps and we swap out our setup, we get a beautiful amount of AoE. We can clear a lot of the screen. We don't have to worry too much. So we have beautiful clear. Our Hexblast while mapping is Hexblast, Arcane Tempo for cast speed, Inspiration for less cost, because we deal so much damage, it doesn't even matter. We could just reduce the cost and not even worry about it. We have Life Tap so that we can put it on life. Right now, our Hexblast costs 609 life. If we do it the other way, it's 433 mana and 249 life. And if I take off Inspiration, it is 1015 life. We use Considered Casting so that we deal more spell damage, and we're using Magnified Effect for that really, really, really big AoE. Now, Hexblast, like I mentioned, needs to hit a cursed enemy. If we do not hit a cursed enemy, we don't get those big explosions, those big pops, that beautiful purple color, and we don't just completely nuke our enemy. So we're pairing it with Blasphemy. Blasphemy, we can see, is this thing going around our character right here. If I shut it off, you'll notice right away, it's off and I turn it back on. Blasphemy is the ability to take a curse and have it be an aura on our character, affecting the enemies around us. So we turn on Blasphemy, we pair it with a curse, in our case, Despair, and Despair is just cast on everything around us within a 2.5 meter distance that we scale with our passive tree, and that we can scale with quality on the gem. Now, Blasphemy requires an absolute metric ton of spirit to run, so we're gonna need a lot of spirit. But one of the cool things that I didn't know that I'm gonna make sure I point out to you is if we quality our Blasphemy, we get reduced reservation cost, which is something very important. And I didn't know, and I'm making sure you know so you don't make the same mistake I did. So quality your Blasphemy. Blasphemy combined with Despair, we put on Heightened Curse so that we can increase the effect of our curses, and we're giving us Ritualistic Curse so that we just get more area of effect of our curse, and we get this beautiful curse zone, and everything around us is cursed, and we have some nice distance. We're using Archmage to give us an absolute metric ton of damage. Archmage says non-channeling skills gain 8% of damage as extra lightning damage for 100 maximum mana that we have. We have 3,600 mana, and if I shut off Archmage, well, we lose almost 300,000 damage. So Archmage is giving us an absolute metric ton of damage, like a ton, like an absolute just bonkers amount, It's crazy. It's a crazy amount. And we're giving it +1 level of gems. Right now, my Archmage is level 18. It's level 19 with the +1 level of gems. When my character goes to level 90 and a few levels, I'll use a level 20 gem. It'll make my Archmage level 20, +1 level, putting it to 21. 21 will be the next breakpoint to give us another couple thousands of damage. It's something in the ballpark of like another like 20 or 30,000 damage. We can actually kind of like take a guess here. If we take, oh, I guess Archmage is not a breakpoint at 19, so we can't really see it. But if we lower the level of Archmage, you'll notice a completely difference. Putting it to 21, I think Sir Napslot said it was like 20 or 30,000 damage, but it's a lot of damage. So we have all that. Now we are not crit capped yet. We are at 87.15%. With a little bit more gear and a little bit more investment, we can hit that 100% crit chance, which is really, really nice. But in the meantime, we're using Eye of Winter. Eye of Winter serving two roles here. Eye of Winter, first and foremost, has something called Critical Weakness. Critical Weakness causes hits against affected enemies to have 0.5% critical strike chance that can stack up to 20 times. So 0.5 stacking up to 20 times gives us an absolute metric ton of crit and makes us get that 100% crit chance against really tanky mobs, mostly just bosses. We do the Eye of Winter like this. The Eye of Winter cast out. It hits the enemy. It stacks up all of the crit weakness immediately and gives us that beautiful chance for 100% crit. Eye of Winter we're doing with Unleash. Unleash is what's giving us two Eye of Winters casting on top of each other. If I take off Eye of Winter here, if I take off Unleash here, we see there's only one Eye of Winter. Unleash puts two of them right on top of each. Is it not doing it? There it goes. There's two of them right on top of each other. I had to move. We're using deceleration to slow down our Eye of Winter. We want our Eye of Winter to be slow. If I take off deceleration, our Eye of Winter goes really fast, and you see it covers more distance, but it doesn't hit the same target in front of us. If we're targeting a boss and we do this, we want our Eye of Winter to hit as many times as possible. This is why we're not qualitying our Eye of Winter. Our Eye of Winter gains increased projectile speed, which we do not want. Every other gem, like Archmage, we want to quality. Blasphemy, we want to quality. Despair, we want to quality. Hexblast, we want to quality. Eye of Winter, we do not want to quality because we want it to be slow. It's on purpose. And lastly, we're pairing it with Withering Touch. Withering Touch says that we get to inflict Wither on our targets, giving them 5% increased chaos damage up to 10 times. You know, we get an increased 50% increased chaos damage, and we immediately just cast this. Our mob is immediately withered the entire time, and it just completely blows up. Now, the last skill that we're using alongside of everything is Contagion. Contagion is giving us a dot effect that we can drop on an enemy. We give them Contagion. The Contagion spreads all around. It deals a whole lot of damage. We kill the mob completely blows up, spreading the dot, and is really good at clearing things like Breach. So this is a really good clear skill. We're gonna be pairing this with Chaotic Freeze so that we get nice freeze buildup, and we're using Persistence for more skill effect duration. It's just an overall really good setup. I really like the setup that he's using. I think it's really strong and really powerful, and I like it a lot. Now, we have, like I said, a bossing swap setup with Concentrated Effect and Chaos Mastery. This is in your Hexblast. You swap out Inspiration for +1 level of gems. You swap out Magnified Effect for Concentrated Effect, and it works out great. I know you saw our life ping-ponging because we're Blood Mage. Don't even worry. Don't even stress. It's all going to make sense in a minute. Now, our gear is really interesting. Because we're playing Blood Mage has this really unique ability to give us more damage per life. Archmage has this unique ability to give us more damage per mana, and then we have another node in our tree that gives us more spell damage per more mana. So all of our gear needs to be catered towards a couple of things. One, we need enough spirit to be able to wear all of our support gems. Two, we need enough life to get a ton of crit multi. And three, we need enough mana to deal a absolute metric ton of damage. Four, we also want to make sure that we get some plus the skills in, because plus the skills is really, really, really powerful on Hexblast. You see right away, our Hexblast does 435,000 damage at level 27. If I go up one level, we immediately get tons and tons of damage. And every single level to our skills is just absolutely positively massive. So to begin, our weapon has a little bit of extra damage as lightning damage, which is really nice. We deal a ton of lightning damage. We have a ton of spell damage. Spell damage scales really, really, really well with our Hexblast. You can see, actually, the easiest way to show you spell damage is if I come here and I grab one of my jewels that has spell damage on it and a little bit of crit. You see, it's just an absolute ton of damage for a little bit of crit bonus, and a little bit of spell damage. Everything scales Hexblast really, really, really nice. Our wand also has maximum mana. More mana, more damage. Like, it's going to be a running theme with all the gear. You want to get as much mana as possible, and as much life as possible, and as much spell damage as possible on every piece of gear, period. We also have +4 levels of Chaos Spell Skill Gems. This is scaling up our Hexblast. You can also get plus levels of all skill gems. That was way more expensive than Chaos Skill Gems, but plus the skill levels is also really good. We have critical strike chance for our spells. Very important to help us hit that beautiful, close to 100% crit strike chance. And we're getting a little bit of extra mana regeneration to help us with our Eye of Winter and casting our Eye of Winter if we need to, plus our other skills when we choose to use them. Our gloves are just critical strike bonus, a little bit of chaos resistance to help us get above that chaos cap. I try to get to 75% chaos resistance. It's a little bit difficult. You got to get a little bit more gear with a little bit more resistances. Same running theme. Resistance that you need, ton of life, ton of mana, crit bonus. Very straightforward, very simple. Our helmet, same thing. Tons of energy shield to keep us alive, because energy shield goes to mind over matter and gives us more mana. We have a ton of life, a ton of mana, a critical hit chance, resistances to fill our hulls. Our body armor, very similar. Mana regeneration rate, which you could probably get away with not having. It's nice. More energy shield, because energy shield gets converted to mana. We have tons of life here. We have spirit. We do need spirit on the body armor. Very, very, very important. You need about 80 spirit, so 40 spirit on the body armor is pretty mandatory. And resistances to fill out our resistances. Our necklace, same thing. A ton of life, a ton of mana, plus 40 spirit to fit all of our support gems. You see right now I'm 10 spirit over. We need exactly 180 spirit. That is because Blasphemy has the reduced reservation. The spirit on the necklace and spirit on the body armor, extremely important. Cast speed everywhere that we can get cast speed. Crit bonus everywhere that we can get crit bonus, which I would like on the necklace. Cold resistance and a little bit of life regen, which doesn't really do a whole lot, but I mean, it's there. Our focus, absolutely beautiful. Spell damage, chaos damage, +1 level of all spell skill gems, giving us a nice little extra boost to our Hexblast. Unfortunately, Archmage is not a spell, so we don't get that buff there, but we get our Hexblast, and it's really kind of nice. You can get it if you get lightning skill gems, but I mean, you really want to boost up your Hexblast. Our shield or our focus also has an absolute ton of critical strike chance for spells, which is really, really, really nice. Now, it's nice, you don't need the extra level, but you do want to have the spell damage, you do want the crit, and we're going to showcase here where 499, if I reduce our crit to 87, you see a little bit of a drop off, not a whole lot. If you're going to get a focus and you're going to be aiming for a focus, I really recommend the focus, you know, really highlighting spell damage, chaos damage, possibly. You really don't need the chaos, but spell damage, mana, critical strike chance is the outright key. Our boots, movement speed, life, mana, a little bit of rarity. It was a nice little bonus. Chaos resistance to fill our holes, a little bit of fire resistance, all around nice boost. I actually have to quality my boots looking at them now. I didn't even notice. Kind of messed that one up. Gotta quality my focus too. It's fine. I'm gonna fix my problems. My rings, beautiful rings, life, mana, cast speed, resistances, you know, with mana quality on them to give us a bunch of extra mana. We see we have 154 mana, 50% quality on it, puts it to 231. Our other rings, same thing. Life, mana, cast speed, resistances to fill our holes, mana quality. We're using Ingenuity to give us an insane boost on our rings. If you can't get an Ingenuity, get a belt that has resistances, life, and mana. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I have an Ignite Charm on for Sanctum or for the Trials. Now our passive tree. We talked about Blood Mage a couple of times, or why we're doing Blood Witch. Is it Blood Mage? Is Blood Mage. We talked about why we're doing Blood Mage a couple of times, and the big takeaway is our base critical strike chance for spells is 15%. Now, Hexblast in itself has a base critical strike chance of 7%. This puts it at a base 15%. If we take this node off, you'll notice very quickly our 87% pretty much drops to almost next to nothing. So if I take this node off, I come over here, I take a look at my Hexblast. Let's move so it updates. Our Hexblast just has pretty much no base crit, no nothing. Our damage goes to 274. It's absolutely positively terrible. I come back in here, I put the base crit for spells back on, and we get just an absolute ton of damage, like just an insane amount of damage. And it's really, really necessary and absolutely needed. So we're pretty locked into this Ascendancy. The life remnants doesn't really do us a whole lot. It kind of is like downside. We get to overcap our life, but it's not really great. We really don't care. We have spell damage leeches life. You'll see when we go do some content in a minute, this completely heals us every single time. We have nothing to worry about. This keeps us really well topped off. We have a little bit of crit strike chance for spells here, a little bit of leech there, a little bit of max life there. And this node gives us critical damage bonus per 40 life. We have 2,400 life. We get an insane amount of crit bonus. I would like to have more crit bonus, but you know, eventually we're going to have to just get more life and we can fill this out. And we get base critical strike chance. Now, the passive tree, I think, is a work of art. I think the gentleman did a great job with the passive tree. I really like it a lot. It essentially just focuses on a ton of spell damage, a ton of cast speed, and a ton of crit. You just see there's tons of crit nodes everywhere, and anywhere that you can get good curse nodes, he takes good curse nodes, or anywhere that you can get +1 level of chaos skills or chaos gems, he also takes that, and just tons of curse nodes. Or tons of crit nodes. You'll notice also right away too, there are a ton of jewel sockets. There's a jewel socket there. That's 1, that's 2, that's 3, 4, 5. This would be 6, and then 7, 8. I count 8 jewel sockets. I think there's a 9th one that I'm supposed to take. I don't know where it is. I'll have to double check, but I'm not there yet. I know the next jewel socket, my next 2 points are going to go there, and then the remainder of my points are going to go here. But each one of these jewel sockets is really impactful. They do a lot of things. They give us spell damage, they give us critical strike chance for spells, they give us critical strike bonus, and they give us area of effect of our curses so that we get really good distance on our area of effect or really good distance on our curses. We see we have an 87% chance to crit. If I remove a 12% crit node, we lose 2% crit chance. So having 12% crit bonus is pretty impactful, and these jewels can go up to 15%. This all really adds up. So if I actually fix all of my jewels to 15%, I would get an absolute metric ton of crit, probably pushing me really close to 90%. So it's very, very impactful that you get all the jewels. I'm actually even considering dropping Prism of Belief here for +2 levels to get more crit, just to help me round out that, that level, just simply due to the fact that the mana cost or the life cost is a little insane. The life cost and everything doesn't really update. When I take this jewel out, I have to restart the game for this to update, but you lose a lot of damage, you gain a lot of damage with it on. So it's like this really weird hit or miss of what you want to do. But essentially our entire tree focuses on everything having int. You want int nodes absolutely positively everywhere. You need a little bit of strength, just the teeniest tiny bit of strength. We have 2 strength nodes, everything else is int nodes, and all of the nodes are crit and chaos damage except for a few. Now those nodes are Eldritch Battery that converts all of our energy shield to mana, which gives us more mana per energy shield. We have increased spell damage per 100 maximum mana. This ties in really nice with Archmage. We have increased maximum mana, increased cost of skills, kind of like whatever, we don't really care. Bunch of critical strike up here. There's a big int node here that we can grab eventually. There's a big increased maximum energy shield there if we want to take it. I'm not actually sure how it really affects the whole Eldritch Battery thing. I do plan on testing it out in a level or two. And then we come over here and we take Mind over Mana. Mind over Matter. All damage is taken from mana before life, 50% less mana recovery rate. This means all of our damage goes to our mana first. That's why we have this beautiful 3,600 health pool. We have 3,600 health. We have 2,400 health, 3,600 mana. We're pretty tanky with capped resistances. And we have another jewel socket up here. My friend Sir Napsalot is using this jewel socket from point here, and I believe he is grabbing this node plus another node with a massive Thread of Hope, or a massive controlled metamorphosis. Very strong. Like I mentioned here, we're also missing all of these crit bonus nodes. But that is the passive tree, that is the skills, that is the character, and it works absolutely great. Now, we can jump into some content and see how this character performs. It is not the best mapper. It can do bosses okay. It is designed to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to clear the Trials of Sekhemas. Now, this map might go really well. This map might go really bad. We're really gonna see. So we have a nice, beautiful map. It's a tier 15 with all the stuff on it. We're gonna go into this map here. We'll toss this map right in because it connects to a really nice map that I'm gonna go do on my monk later. And we're just gonna get a good feel for how this character maps. Now, don't expect this character to be the best mapper. It can kill things, it can kill mobs, no problem. You see right away, it can do things. The monk or other characters will end up just doing it better. I mean, this can do it. You can swap some stuff around. You can make this an insane mapper, but that's not my goal or my intention for it. My goal and complete intention for this character is to literally play it as a Trials runner and clear all the content like that. These explosions will eventually kill you, especially on a map that's rolled like this one with, mobs. Mobs can pierce elemental resistance. You will accidentally die to some of these mobs. It is, while it's relatively tanky, it's EA. Some stuff will just accidentally kill you if you just roll your maps bad. But you see, it can kill mobs pretty easily in a pretty juiced up map. This map, like I said, a little bit more on the difficult side. Ellie, Pen, they're armored, they deal extra chaos, shocked ground. So, we could take a little bit of a hit. I wouldn't stand in ground explosions. I mean, every single ground explosion is killing every single character that's not CI, so I wouldn't stand in anything. But in terms of killing mobs, you see right away, we can kill mobs, no problem. Nope, minus the explosion. That thing exploded after it died. Oh, they're exploding. Classic early access experience. Everything blows up, everything dies, everything feels like it's out to get you all of the time ever. But overall, like I said, mapping in the character in itself is pretty quick. It's pretty snappy. I would, if you're going to make this character, I would leave it to do what it does and what it does well, and that's the trials, and let it really, really, really shine there. But overall, I think Hexblast in itself is an absolutely fantastic skill. It feels super fun to play. The character in itself is great. I'm just like a big brain monk main, man. Like, everything's gonna feel worse compared to the monk, but I mean, like, you know, if I set bias aside, it's fun. It's awesome. I like the character a lot. I've invested a little bit of currency, like I said, a little bit of currency, probably a lot of bit of currency, less than 50 divs. I want to invest more into it. I really want to get this character a little bit stronger and push it a little bit further. I want to get to level 90. I want to get it some extra gems, and I really just kind of want to see where I can go with it. I really like it a lot. I do, and it just feels awesome and fun to play. Nice short map there, friend. Nice little quick short map. But overall, this is the character. This is how it plays. If you have any questions about it, feel free to come by the Discord. Feel free to ask in the comments down below. You know, stop by the live stream. Let me know what you think. If you put it together and you like it, or if you change something, or if you're even playing Hexblast and you have some really cool tech that you want to share, I'd love to hear about it. Don't hesitate to let me know what you guys are thinking. If you have good criticism about the character or something that we could do better, please by all means let me know. But for now, friends, I'm gonna get this video out to you guys. I hope you enjoy the Hexblast character, and I'll see you all in the next one.